Hello dear World of Warcraft friends, welcome back to a new video on my channel. Last week we had a spicy misannouncement from Blizzard that honestly broke the community and even myself a little bit. It's about the Turbulent Timeways. So originally Blizzard said there would be account-wide XP buffs, and I was so hyped about it and treated it as a big win internally, only for it to later turn out, nope, that's not the case. People online were, I don't want to say freaking out, but they were pretty pissed. And once again the question came up, how can Blizzard let something like this happen? We'll take a look at exactly what happened in this video. Let's get started. We're currently going through a really tough phase on YouTube, like we always do in the summer. It's not just my channel, it's generally WoW plus summer equals dead. That's why, as always, just a reminder, any kind of interaction helps support me. Thank you so much for that. So, what was it all about? For those who missed it, originally Blizzard released a new preview about patch 12.0.7. It was about the turbulent timeways, and I'll say this much. So far, so good. This is the original announcement. The one we had, and here it was just once again. Yeah, everything introduced. So, time to buff up. Master the Timeways for a new mount. So if you have the event buff for 4 weeks, you'll get this mount. Spawn of Viranoth. Really, really awesome. Then it was about Dragonflight again, that time walking is coming in. The dungeons, Aljathar Academy. I didn't really need that, we've already had it in Mythic Plus. Halls of Infusion, Neltharus, Ruby Life Pools, Azure Vault, and Brackenhide Hollow. Here too, so far so good. Then the rotation. So when does each time walking week happen? In the first week of the event, Dragonflight, then Battle for Azeroth, then Shadowlands, then Classic, then Burning Crusade, and finally for us it starts on the 5th. August, there's Dragonflight on top of that again. So yeah, like I said, that was actually pretty harmless. They made the big mistake right at the beginning, and that was when they wrote here, if you do this time walking event, you'll get knowledge of the timeways, which gives you 5 more XP, so just like always. The whole thing stacks up, and after 4 dungeons you get Master of the Timeways, which gives you 30 more XP for killed monsters and completed quests. And that's just a really, really awesome buff. Because with that, just by queuing for time walks, you get 30 more completion XP plus XP for killing monsters, etc. That makes time walks a really good event. And I'll put it this way, if you have this buff, the other things are also worth it. So, for example, Blizzard has increased the XP from one-time dungeon quests. They're now at 120,000, then add another 30 on top, plus, I don't know, another 25 for your warband. By completing a single quest, you get almost 190,000 XP. That's a huge amount. So, you know, that's really, really juicy. But, yeah, they wrote here that the buff stays even after your death. That's normal, and it's account-wide, which makes it an excellent way to do your quests for all your alts and so on and so forth. Yeah, what can I say? Here, in the end, falsehoods were spread because buff is not account-wide. So at first I wondered, why that is. Because until now they had never done it. So, you know what I mean. Until now, this buff was never account-wide, and I wondered, why should it suddenly be like that now? But I thought, I mean, whatever, right? You take it and do it on whichever character is fastest. All the dungeons, then you log in on an alt, and you rush through... Yes. Then you keep rushing through the dungeons. That's pretty awesome. Now, a short time later, they still didn't admit the mistake, but just quietly and secretly posted it again. And they removed that part about, is it tied to warbands? And yes, what should we say at this point? That's kind of annoying. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of criticism for that. Not necessarily for the fact that this buff isn't account-wide now, but for the fact that many people said, hey, how can something like this happen, that you announce something like this? Because this isn't necessarily a typo or an extra letter added by mistake, but rather someone actually typed this in with a lot of confidence. What I have to say, and I see this in myself as well, mistakes can happen. Yeah, so no matter how well you know something, no matter how good you are in the field, I notice it myself. It shouldn't happen, but it does. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. Nevertheless, I still see a difference between private individuals who run a YouTube channel, a blog, or something like that. Because, like I said, normally that's always been a thing for me, honestly. It happened to me a lot, even as a kid, those little slip-ups. Yeah? Because you thought, yeah, everything's fine, I don't need to look over it again. Yeah, shit. But in such a big company, there should be people who double check things, and there should be people who prevent such misinformation from being spread, which is why the community first gets excited and then ends up bitterly disappointed. So I can totally understand the frustration that it partly went in the direction of people insulting others and so on and so forth. That's not cool. No, that's not necessary despite all the frustration. And on the other hand, yes, there was speculation. Did Blizzard postpone the patch for another 2 weeks for quality? No, they didn't. And here too, people were mocking like, great, now there are already mistakes in the announcements, which doesn't bode well for the quality of the patch. I would also say that one thing doesn't really have anything to do with the other, but admittedly, after the past few weeks, it's not exactly the best impression they're giving. Well, it's really, really a shame. It annoys me a bit. I would have been really happy about it. In the end, yeah, it's 4 dungeons you can save on your alts, but it's all, it's all time. Also, so, I don't know, 40, 50 minutes if you're a DPS and have to queue. It can even take over an hour until you finish those 4 dungeons, so I would have really liked that. What do you guys think about the whole thing? Leave your comment below. Thanks for watching, see you next time, and take care.